Hi there, and welcome to the What's New webinar for the latest version of Mission Control. Version 1.56 will be released on the App Exchange on 15th of January 2021. What we're going to do is just take a quick look at all of the new features before we dive into the detail. So what's new? So we've got a number of new features coming. We have we've done a complete overhaul of the resource assignment wizard, adding in a lot more functionality there, adding in a new custom clone page at the action level. We've done a number of enhancements to the checklist items, also enhancements to the scheduler and the timesheet, as well as adding in some additional options around the auto generation feature of projects from the opportunity. We've also introduced the ability to do a skill-based override of rates at an individual project level, as well as including the ability to customize the Invoice Pdf that goes out for billing events, and a few minor enhancements that we'll talk about as well. So looking at the resource assignment wizard, so as I say, this has had a major overhaul. So all of the existing functionality still exists, but also provides a lot more additional features as well. So first of all, you can quickly add resources now rather than having to go through the search process. You're able to actually quickly assign either the action owner or contributors. You can still do the search and drag and drop to assign an action owner or to assign contributors. And in addition to that, as we go through, we'll show you the various search filters, some new options around looking at the potential resources that you found. You can look at either the hours or a percentage figure, as well as actually drilling down into the breakdown of those hourly figures as well. So then we've also added in a custom page that allows you to do a deep clone of an action. So previously we were just using the standard Salesforce cloning functionality, but obviously sitting underneath an action, we also have checklist items and we also have contributors. So this custom page will give you the ability to clone the action as well as any relating checklist items and contributors as well. So checklist items, number of enhancements here. So we've added in the ability to track hours at a checklist item level. So we'll talk through the detail of that as we go through the demo, but ultimately able to record scheduled hours, completed hours, remaining hours. We've also added in the ability to automatically manage the creation, edit, and deletion of contributors based on resources being assigned ownership of checklist items. In addition to that, we've also redeveloped the checklist item manager to give you a lot more functionality. So there's a quick create feature. You can access more fields as well as actually choosing which fields you see on the checklist item manager. So next, the scheduler. So that's, again, had a few different enhancements. So we've introduced the scheduler as a scheduler anywhere tool. So similar to the Gantt chart and the whiteboard, that they can be added on to pages of records that are parents to a project. You can now do the same with the scheduler. We've also introduced a new scale where you can actually view the data based on months rather than hours, days, or weeks. You've also got the ability to choose what hours source you're using, so whether it's the scheduled hours, remaining hours, or projected figures, as well as introducing the ability to collapse and expand the individual rows for each person. Again, the timesheet existing feature, but that's also had a number of new enhancements. So just a quick summary of those features. You can now choose between looking at 1 week and 1 month as the timeline. You can also choose to shade gray any non-working days. So whether that's your standard non-working days like weekends or individual holidays, they can all be grayed out, really just to draw people's attention to the fact that they are logging time against a non-working day. Added in some additional filtering options to be able to search for a particular account first. Another feature that's been requested by a few customers is being able to clone last week's timesheet. So we've introduced that. And another couple of settings around hiding the non-billable row if there are no non-billable hours scheduled, and you can also choose the hours source for the summary on the left-hand side as to whether it's your own hours or the entire hours assigned to the action. A couple of additional enhancements we've made to the auto generation of projects from the opportunity. So we've added in another generation method called products no duplicates, and we've also added in another project unit source on the product object called source. So we'll talk through both of those in more detail within the demo. We've also introduced a number of new fields onto the tax rate object that will give you the ability to customize the invoice PDF. So you can now choose whether you want to hide or display certain fields on the template. You can also replace the standard fields that are included with your own custom fields, as well as including additional fields on the template as well. And then just running through the minor enhancements. So the Gantt chart, the standalone Gantt chart now offers you the ability to apply filters based on the milestone type field and the action type field. So for example, you might have action type values of internal and external. And if you want to quickly filter the Gantt chart to only show the actions with an action type of external, i.e. to only show to get to a Gantt chart that you're happy to export to the customer, you can apply that filter via that standalone Gantt chart. A few different fields, all of which are documented in the release notes, have been added to the project object, particularly a new field called expenses invoiced, which is automatically tracking the value of the expenses that have already been invoiced. That gets factored into the existing total remaining field, which is a formula that's been slightly modified to take care of fixed price plus expenses projects. The amount credited, tax amount credited, and total amount credited are fields that have also been added to give you deeper insight into the credit note information relating to a project. For consistency across all components around adding new actions, mandatory field changes. So these fields were previously mandatory on some components and not others. So we've just removed any mandatory requirements for the start date, end date, and action owner. The next one, the project stakeholders, this is really just a housekeeping feature. So previously, if you deleted a project and that project had project stakeholders, those project stakeholder records were left in the system. So really just for a housekeeping best practice, if you now delete a project, any related project stakeholders will also be deleted as well. Some additional minor enhancements. We have added in some various features onto the program planner. So there's additional information now visible in the column header. You can, when you're creating a new project from the program planner, you can also add the milestones at the same time. And we've just added in some quick navigation links through to the project overview, the project builder, and the storyboard. And likewise, from the storyboard, you can quickly navigate back to the program planner as well. We've also added in a new setting on the control pad within the project automation settings section. So you'll find there's a new setting there that can be turned on or off as you require, and that will, if that's enabled, that will prevent people from deleting actions if there are time logs relating to that action. And we've also added in a few additional permission sets. We've added in a new one that will actually hide all currency fields. There's already an existing no financials permission set that restricts visibility of any field relating to the billable or cost rates. This permission set is a bit stricter and hides all currency fields across all objects. And we've also added in 2 additional permission sets for community users, one that hides the billing and cost rates, and then another one that hides all currency fields. Okay, so that's a quick overview of all of the new functionality. So what we're now going to do is jump in and take a look at all of these features in action. Okay, the first feature we're going to dive into is the resource assignment wizard. So obviously it's an existing feature that's just been redeveloped to add in more features. So you'll obviously be used to knowing how to get there. Anyway, in the system where you see this icon, you can access the resource assignment wizard. So what I'm going to do, I'm on an existing project here. I can see Andrea is already assigned to this, but I'm going to pull in some additional resources to help Andrea. So what I can do is just open up the resource assignment wizard. Now, a few things here immediately. You'll see that the layout of everything is different. So previously we had the action owner section down here, and then the contributors at the bottom. We've revised the layout really to give you the ability to quickly add resources rather than having to go through the process of searching. If you know the people that you need to add, you can quickly add them here. So I'm just going to add Mick as a contributor here, and I'll give him some hours and then just add him to the list. Now, so that will allow me to quickly add. I can quickly add as many contributors as I need. I can also quickly change the action owner if I need to as well. However, what I can do if I do need to go and find some resources, I can use the filters here. Now I can click search and just do a blanket search across everyone in the system. Alternatively, I can filter down and find people. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to first of all say I'm looking for someone on the consultants team, and I need to make sure that they've got a specific skill. Now I can, like previously, I can also search on skill proficiency. I can specify the start day that I want to look at, how many weeks I want to look at, as well as choosing, this is a new feature where I can choose whether I'm going to be looking at days or weeks in terms of my results. So I'll leave that set to days for now and click on search. So again, slightly different layout here, providing us a bit more information. So what we've got here is each resource. So obviously familiar to being able to find the resources that we need, and same functionality. I can drag and drop people. So if I need to reassign the owner, I can do that just by dragging them over. If I leave Andrea as the owner, but I pull myself in as a contributor, I can add myself to the contributors drop zone and just put in the hours that I'm going to be adding in. Now, on the actual results, what I can do is drill down into the detail here. So if we drill down into my record, what you've got now is actually a breakdown of whether it's billable, non-billable, or holiday hours. So for example, we can see how many hours have been allocated and whether it's important that that gets done on that day or not. So really giving us more detail around what makes up the totals here. The other thing is, so for example, if I drill into Andrea's and I'm trying to establish, what's made up of this time, I can actually just click into that, and that will give me a breakdown of which projects Andrea has been assigned to around those hours. Now, once I'm happy with the assignment of all of my resources, I just click on save, and that saves those contributors and drops me back onto the project overview page. So then I can see that the contributors have been added. All right, so what I'm going to do is just jump back in there and walk through a few other features. So up in the top right, you'll see that we now have this settings section. So what that allows me to do is actually adjust certain things of how the resource assignment wizard is going to work. So for example, I can choose to exclude roles if they've got a greater allocation than a number of hours per day. If I say, right, anyone who's got more hours allocated than 40 per week, I don't want to include them. And anyone who is over 100% allocated, I can also exclude those people. The other thing I can do here is actually choose whether I'm looking at my figures as either hours or percentage. So I'm going to change that to percentage and just click on save in a moment. The other thing I can do here is I now can control at what point do I want my red, amber, green to be breaking. So I could say, so anything that is less than 25% of the overall allocation, show me as green. Anything that is greater than 100%, show me as red. And then obviously anything in between those two will show me as amber. So you can see as a result of changing the percentages, I've now got that visibility of of the allocations, but now I'm looking at the percentage rather than the actual hours. And again, I can still drill down and look at that information there. The other thing to note, this section of the Resource Assignment Wizard is also available as a standalone component to be added to the action detail page. So you'll see here on my action page, I've just added in using the Lightning App Builder. I've added in the component. So that gives me the ability to obviously view the contributors. I can make adjustments, click on save, but I can quickly add or delete as required as well. So just giving me the ability to allocate contributors without having to go into the full resource assignment wizard tool. So at the action object level, we now feature a deep clone page. So you'll see here I'm on my action record, and the standard clone feature has now been overridden with a custom page, allowing me to perform a deep clone of the action as well as any related checklist items and contributors. So I can adjust the start date. That will go through the action and any related checklists and update the dates accordingly. I can choose to clone the checklists. I can also choose to clone the contributors. And then if I scroll down, I can make changes to any of the fields. As well as modifying any related checklists. I can also add new checklists or delete them if they're not required on this newly cloned version. Equally, same at the contributor level as well. So providing you with much more flexibility around cloning an action without having to create checklists and contributors manually, you can now clone the entire thing in one step. So as mentioned, we've made a number of new enhancements to the checklist item feature, and that includes the ability to track hours, scheduled hours, completed hours, and remaining hours at the individual checklist item level. We've also added in functionality to automate the creation of contributors based on people being assigned as checklist item owners. You can also log time associating it, obviously, to the parent action, but also the individual checklist item. And we've also developed a new checklist item manager. So we're going to walk through each one of those individually. So first of all, I'm just on an action here. You can see I don't yet have any checklist items and I don't have any contributors. I'm just going to jump over onto my console first of all. So I'm on the control pad of the mission control console. If I scroll down to my project automation settings section, right down the bottom, there is this new setting here that allows me to either enable or disable the automated management of contributors. So I've got this feature turned on, so it's not disabled. So what that means is anytime that I create a checklist item that has hours assigned to it, it will automatically create or update the appropriate contributor record for the person that has been assigned as the item owner. So by default, on the upgrade, this will be set to true, so contributors won't be getting automatically created for you. So if you do want to take advantage of that feature, you'll need to come to this point on the page and turn that off and then click save. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to go to my checklist item record. I'm going to do this manually just to explain the creation of the contributors before we take a look at the checklist item manager. So I'm just going to click on here and create a new checklist item. So put in my information as normal. But what I've also got is the ability to say how many hours scheduled from a billable perspective and a non-billable perspective do I think this individual checklist is going to take. I'm just going to back out of here first of all, just to show you the detail of the actual action record. So it's owned by Mick. If I scroll down to my hours scheduled, I'm just going to put in figures for this. So I'm going to first of all say I expect there to be 4 billable hours and 1 non-billable hour. So I've created my action, I've put in the hours, but now what I'm going to do is go through and create a checklist item, and I'm going to start overriding those hours. So as soon as I put in hours at the checklist item level, it will start overriding what I've put at the action level, and at that point I will no longer be able to manually adjust the action hours. Everything will be controlled at the checklist item level. I've also just got the contributors for this action loaded here just to show you that currently I don't have any contributors. But what's going to happen as soon as I create a checklist item and assign that to someone that isn't the action owner. So I'm just going to put in a test here. I'm going to assign that to myself. And I'm going to put in that it's got 2 hours of billable and 2 hours of non-billable. Okay, so the checklist item has been created. So first of all, I'm just going to refresh the action page. To show you that my scheduled hours and my scheduled billable and scheduled non-billable have now been overridden to reflect the sum of what's happening at the checklist item level. If I also just refresh the contributors tab, you'll see that there's automatically been a contributor record created for me for the total contribution of my checklists. So I'll just add in another checklist item just to go over that once more. And this time I'm going to assign it to someone else. And I'll put in 3 hours and 1 non-billable. So again, I will just refresh the page there. And just to scroll down and show you that the total hours are now reflecting the sum of both of those checklist items. And if I go through to my contributors and refresh again, I've now got a contributor automatically created for Chris. Okay, so just to clarify, obviously, if I try and modify these action figures myself manually, I'm going to receive a notification letting me know that the hours are being managed at the checklist item level, not the action level. And it's the same with my contributors. I won't be able to modify these manually. I would have to do that by changing the hours on the checklists. So the other thing that we can do is actually associate time to a checklist as well. So I'm going to go to the build framework action that we've just created those checklists against on my timesheet. Just make sure I'm going to get the right one. So it's on the Rose Tree project. So here's the action. So if I say I've just done some time on there, what I can do, so I'm associating it to the action, but by double clicking into that number, I also have access to the checklists as well. So I can say I was working on this particular checklist item when I was doing this time. So as well as being able to track the time at the action level, I can now also associate that same time against the checklist. So we can start tracking how long it's taking us to deliver particular checklists in context of the overall action. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to jump in and take a look at is the checklist item manager. So I'm able to access that from the project overview just by clicking on the manage items section. You can also access it from various other places like the create actions page, the Kanban whiteboard, and so on. So this is an action that doesn't yet have any checklists. So obviously the checklist item manager, you'll recognize has changed considerably. What we've got here is the ability to quickly create new checklists, or we can add them in down the bottom here by putting in the full detail. And we'll cover off both options. We also have the ability to apply filters, and we can also get into the settings to make some modifications around the functionality of the manager. So you'll see here by default we have the complete field, the item owner, checklist item name, item notes, and then we also have start date, end date, and some standard fields like, do we want to exclude this from the Gantt chart? What are the hours scheduled billable? What are the hours scheduled non-billable? So what I'm going to do is quickly create a new checklist item here. So by either hitting enter on my keyboard or clicking that plus sign, that will automatically create the checklist item for me and add it to the list. I can also add it and fill in more information by clicking on the new item field here. If I want to, I can add in hours. At this point, I can either click on the tick sign to, I can click on the tick sign to actually save this checklist item, or if I want to automatically immediately add another one, I can just click on the plus, and then that will add another row underneath that to allow me to add in some more information. Okay, so I've got my 3 checklist items. I can see all of the information that I've entered against each one. I can edit each record individually. So just click on the edit icon, and that opens up that one record. So then I can edit accordingly. And then once I'm finished, I just click on the plus sign, the tick sign there. I can also open all of my records to do a mass edit. So if I need to make adjustments to all of them, I can just click in. That opens up each individual record, and I can make changes. And then once I'm ready to save, I just click on that high-level master tick icon up the top there. Okay, so what I can also do here is apply filters as well. So if I click into here, I can say, right, I'm looking for anything that contains a particular thing, anything that has either been completed or not completed, numerous different filter options. What I can also do is obviously save those as a preset filter. So if I use that quite regularly, I can just save that and quickly apply it as and when I use the checklist item manager. Now, the other thing I can do is jump into my settings section here, and this gives me the ability to do 2 things. Sorry, I'll just back up out of there just to show you. So these 4 fields will always be visible on the checklist item manager, but these 5, you can choose which fields from the checklist item object are displayed. So if I click into here, I can change, like, from start date, I can choose to any other object, any other field on the object. So I can modify each one of these individual fields. And what I can also do is change the sort order of how my checklists are being sorted on the manager. So by default, they're being sorted by the sort order field in ascending order, then start date, then end date. But I can actually sort by any one of the fields on the checklist item. So I can make my changes, click on save, and then they'll be persistently remembered for any time that I'm using the checklist item manager. And if I need to reset to the defaults, I can just click on that reset button. Similar to the contributors component that we talked about earlier, what we can also do is add the checklist item manager as a component on the page directly, so we can quickly get in and view all of our checklists relating to that action. We're now going to take a look at the enhancements that have been made to the scheduler. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is is what we call Scheduler Anywhere. So we've already got Gantt Anywhere and Whiteboard Anywhere, which means you can add the Gantt chart component or the whiteboard component to a page layout of a parent record to the project. So for example, the account page sits as a parent to the project, so you can add those components onto the account page, and that will pre-filter that component to show projects relating to that account. So the same feature is now available for the scheduler. So you can see here that I'm on the account record for Aprica Business Solutions. I've got this scheduler tab that I've added to my page, and I've got this scheduler component, and it's pre-filtered to show me any projects that are related to the Aprica account. So any object that sits as a parent to the project, you can do this for. So what we're actually going to do is just walk through how you do that. So I'm just going to jump through into my account page here. So I don't yet have a tab. So first of all, I'm just going to click on the edit page option up here. So first of all, I'm going to add a new tab onto my main section of my page, and I'm just going to give that a custom name called Scheduler. And then within that tab, so within this component section, I'm just scrolling down on the left-hand side, finding the Visualforce component and then dragging that into where I want it. And then over on the right-hand side here, I'm going to say I want that to be the Scheduler Anywhere page, and recommended height at least 1000. I'm going to set mine to 1200 here. So once I'm happy with that, I click on Save. Actually, I can also choose to not have a label there. So if I click on Save, if it's the first time you're modifying this page, you may need to activate it as well. I've already done that previously, so I've just clicked Save, and then if I drop back, I've now got my scheduler component available to view in context of this account. Couple of other things that we've added onto the scheduler, so I'm just going to jump over and take a look. So as well as the existing scales of hours, days, and weeks, we've now got a fourth option of months. So if I click over and select my months view, that's going to give me an indication of the months that I'm looking at, and similar in the settings, I can adjust how many months I'm looking at, like I can any of the other views as well. So I can go right out to a 12-month period. I'll just set that to, let's say, 6 months, and click on Save. So that will adjust how many months I'm looking at on the scheduler. So that will apply to all of the views. So if I go over to the hours total view, that will give me insight per month how many hours have been allocated to each person. Couple of other features that we've also added in. So by default, the hours used on the scheduler are the scheduled hours from the actions. We had some requests to have a few different options around which hours were used. So by default, it will still be the hours scheduled, but you'll see in the settings we now have the ability to specify which hours are used. So the four options are total hours scheduled, total hours remaining, projected hours remaining, or total projected hours. And that will drive, so whatever I have set there will drive the hours on the left and the hours on the detail and the total tabs. The other setting we had was so the other new feature that we've added in is the ability to have collapsible rows here for each individual person. So again, this is a setting that's can be turned on or off in the settings section. So it's just a case of showing the collapsible section. You'll see that I've already got it turned on. And what that gives me is the ability to collapse individual people's rows or I can actually use these buttons that will also be visible if I've got that setting turned on, and I can do a quick collapse all or a quick expand all. So, for example, if I know I'm not needing to look at Andrea, I can just collapse her and Ben out of the way. So I'm just freeing up space on the page in order to actually see the people that I really need to look at. We're now going to take a look at the various enhancements that we've made to the timesheet in this release. So first of all, you've got the option to adjust the timeline that you're looking at. So by default, it will display 1 week. Now within the timesheet settings, you've got a time frame that you can adjust between 1 week and 1 month. So if I adjust that to 1 month and click on save, what I then get is I get a full month's view where I could go and submit my entire month's timesheet. I'm just going to drop that back to 1 week there, and then just reset that to a week. The other thing that we've added in is another custom setting. I've already got it enabled, but I'll just jump into my settings. You'll see here there's a shade non-working day columns gray. So if this is true, you'll see that any day that is classed as a non-working day will be shaded gray. Now you can still log time against those days. It's really just as a visual indicator that you're logging time against a day where you have holiday or a non-working day. So in terms of the days that would be shaded gray are any what you consider non-working days there. So any organizational business hours that have been set as a non-working day, or any holidays, whether that's a holiday for the individual role, a holiday assigned to a team they're a member of, or a global holiday. So you can see here my Saturdays and Sundays are considered non-working days, and I've also got a holiday on Thursday. So they're all shaded gray there. The other feature we've added in is this account filter page. So we had customers who had similar naming conventions for their projects, so it was proving difficult to actually find the right project. So what you can now do is actually first of all filter by account. That will reduce the projects that you're looking for, and then you can search for the project and then search for the action and then load it into the timesheet. Another feature that has been requested by a number of clients is the ability to clone last week's timesheets. So many resources might be sitting there doing very similar things each week. So what they're wanting to do is just, rather than having to create it from scratch each time, just clone what they entered last week. So you have this button here, clone last week's timesheet. I'll come to that in a moment. First of all, just want to highlight that can be turned on or off via this setting here. So if you set that to true, that button will be hidden and users won't be able to actually access that feature. So I've got it turned on at the moment. So what I'll do is just click on that. What that does is loads a modal window over the top of the timesheet. And it gives me a draft copy of the time logs that were created last week, but for the same day. So obviously, if I created that on Tuesday last week, it will be created for Tuesday this week. So I can delete each individual one if I don't need every single one of them. But if I scroll down, you'll see it's given me a draft copy of every single time entry I made last week, and then I can save those, and then they will be they'll be added to my timesheet for this week. Okay, another setting that we had was so you're always able to hide the non-billable row altogether. But what some customers had requested was the ability for it to be conditionally hidden if the hours scheduled non-billable is 0. So ultimately, if I set that to to be true, that will actually hide the row for any action where the hours scheduled non-billable is 0. And then the other setting that we've added in is by default, these figures here will be based on my contribution to these actions. What you can do is toggle that between your own contribution and the entire contribution of everybody. So again, if I just click into the settings there, I've got this new setting here as to whether I choose to look at my hours or total hours. We've added in a couple of additional enhancements to the opportunity auto generation functionality. So we've added in a new value into the generation method field on the opportunity object, and we've also added in a new value into the project unit field on the product object. So first of all, we'll walk through the generation method one. Currently, you will have opportunity and products. We've now got this third option. Just to note, you will need to add this pick list value manually to your field, and it needs to be exactly like this. It's all documented in the release notes. So products dash no duplicates. So the existing products option actually, it will add milestones to the project based on the products associated to the opportunity. And if a product has been added to the opportunity more than once, it will create multiple instances of that milestone. To accommodate requests from other clients that don't need multiple milestones because they've added multiple products, we've added in the option of products no duplicates. So as it would indicate, what that will do is it will doesn't matter how many times the product has been associated to the opportunity, it will only create one instance of the applicable milestone. And I'm just going to flick over to the product object, and in the project unit field, so you will currently have day and hour. The new option is source, and again, you'll need to manually add this as a value into your pick list field. And the so the new value source will create the milestone and all of the related records, such as the action, checklist items, etc. And rather than calculating dynamically the hours based on the quantity of the opportunity line item, it will copy the hours directly from the source milestone. So if you had scheduled 10 hours on the source action, it will schedule 10 hours on the new action being created. And we've also added in a setting on the mission control console that just gives you the ability. I'll just jump onto the control pad in the project automation settings section. You've got this one here that allows you to transfer the cloned records to the running user. So ultimately, this setting will set the running user as the record owner of the project when it is being automatically generated from an opportunity or from a project request. If this setting is left false, the owner will be set as the same value that is on the template that is being used for the auto generation process. So the manage rates page on the project previously allowed you to override the role-based rates for that individual project if you were using the role-based financial tracking method. What we've done to that page is also introduced the ability to override the skill-based rates as well. So now if I click into that manage rates page, you'll see I have the role-based tab, but I also now have the skill-based tab as well. So if I've got either my billing rate or my cost rate set to be using skill-based, and I don't want to use my standard rates set on the person's skill assignment record, I can override those rates for this one individual project. So for example, when writing Apex code, I might normally get billed out at 200 an hour. For this project, we might have had to discount. So I'm actually going to enter I'm going to enter the reduced rate that will be charging me out for this project. Everything else can stay at blank if they're all going to pick up the defaults from the records. But I do have the ability to override the billable rate and the cost rate on the skill-based project now. To provide customers with greater flexibility to customize the invoice PDF that is generated on the billing event record, a number of new fields have been added to the tax rate object. Ultimately, this gives you the ability to choose whether you hide some fields from the invoice. You can also replace fields with your own custom fields, as well as add in additional fields as well. So the fields that have been added to the to the tax rate object are these ones here, and these are all documented in the release notes. But they're indicating all of the fields on the template that you can modify. So if I choose to hide if I need to hide one of these fields, so for example, I might decide that I don't want the summary field. So just to jump on I might choose not to display this section on the PDF. So what I would do on the applicable tax rate is just put in the word hidden. So I'm just going to enter hidden and save that record. And then if I go back and just refresh the PDF, so you can see there that the summary field has been hidden. Now, equally, I might choose to use a custom field instead. So I might want to actually have that, but I might have a custom field on my billing event object that I would like to use. So if I go down and say, right, I want to use this PO reference. So what I'm going to do is actually grab the API label of that field and copy that and paste that into there. And then what that would do is actually it would merge the value in from that field into the billing event. So that would then appear in the summary field. In addition to that, what I can also do is add in two additional custom header fields. So I can put in the label that I want to use. I can put in the API name of the custom fields. So two header fields and then one footer field. So the two header fields would appear under the summary, and then the footer field would appear under the the standard footer here. So just giving people a little bit more flexibility around customizing that PDF. Okay, that's covering off all of the main features. Further detail around those minor enhancements are included in the release notes. I do encourage you to read the release notes. They obviously have more detail than gets covered off here. There are a number of new fields that have been added to various objects. Like always, please review those requirements and ensure they get added to your page layouts, as well as any profiles or permission sets if you're not using our standard permission sets. Okay, so in terms of launch dates, the release schedule looks as follows. So as of the 15th of January, it's going to be available for you to manually upgrade directly from the App Exchange. On the 23rd of January, we will automatically upgrade all sandbox orgs. And then on the 30th of January, we will automatically upgrade all production orgs. And with all of that said, once again, I'd obviously like to thank you for your time. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch the webinar. And like always, would love to hear your feedback on the new features and anything else you'd like to see in the product. Thanks for your time. Bye.